Hello, can you hear me? Okay, that's great. So I want to say a couple things. I'm so glad we're here. I'm also unfamiliar with using a mic, which is, this will be a trick. So you guys watch me kind of do this, and then you'll figure it out. Thank you for coming. This is wonderful. I can't believe how many people are here, and the excitement. I'm really thrilled to share with you some really great work from writers here at UNE. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jesse Miller. I teach writing here at UNE. I also am the advisor for the Creative Writing Club, which I'm going to have Beanie tell you more about in just a second. A couple of things about the format tonight. So this is a co-hosted event by two really, really cool clubs here on campus. The Creative Writing Club, which is in its first year. You just had a birthday, is that true? So the recent founding of this club last October, which is really thriving, and so much of that is Beanie doing, and everybody else really contributing. And then also Zephyr, which is in its 21st issue. So old enough to drink +1, that's right. And so, members of these two clubs are going to be sharing original work, some that was published in Zephyr, the most recent issue, and then creative writing that's been going on over this semester. Other than that, before we get into the actual reading, I wanted to introduce BEANIE LOWERY. BEANIE LOWERY is I'll read from the script. Let's do that. BEANIE LOWERY is a junior working on an English major with a writing minor. They are one of the founders of the Creative Writing Club and are excited to help bring this reading to life. So I'm going to turn this over to Beanie to talk about Creative Writing Club. How about it?
Hi, yeah, I'm Beanie. I founded this club last October. Honestly, it was a little bit of a passion project in just wanting a bigger space for writers on campus, more than just having the English major and the writing minor. And obviously Zephyr has been a great space for creative writing over the past 2 decades. But just fostering a space for workshopping, community, that kind of stuff has been such an important thing for me, and it's been really fun. The club is a really good group of people, and we're a very supportive group of people. So editing, workshopping, sharing our work with each other has been a really invigorating experience that I'm really proud to have created in this space. And I'm certainly excited that we have managed to get such a good event going and partner with such a great other club in our first year. So it's definitely been a lot to do in 1 year, and I'm very, very proud of everybody from the club who has come out and joined us, and for being able to get this together and get this going and share our work with all of you guys, because I think that's an important thing with poetry, is being able to talk to everyone else and share and have a community around it. So thank you guys all for coming out. And I'm actually going to pass it over to Professor MCHUGH, who is a little more involved with Zephyr.
Thank you, Beanie, and to Professor Miller for working together with us in Zephyr to do this thing that UNE is really good at doing, and it's bringing together community. I just want to put a shout out, anybody standing in the back, these seats are open in the front, please, please, please come settle yourselves in, enjoy yourself, and make yourselves more comfortable. My name is Susan MCHUGH. I am professor of literature and writing here at UNE. I've been here for multiple years, and so therefore I've been involved with Zephyr for pretty much most of its life, in various ways. It's my pleasure and honor to serve as its faculty advisor now, and it's been especially wonderful in these past few years to be working with Luke COLOMEY, who is president of the club and editor-in-chief of Zephyr, whose subtitle is UNE's Journal of Artistic Expression. I know this is a creative writing night, but please know that Zephyr is also open to those of you who are into drawing, photography, visual art as well. Under Luke's leadership and with his vision, we've been able to now accommodate full color images being reproduced in Zephyr. So I encourage you to hang out and check out some issues to see exactly how you can envision your own work showing up on the pages of Zephyr. And we'll talk more about that as time goes on tonight. But I really would like you all to understand that it is a community endeavor, but it does involve a lot of work on people's part, especially in leadership roles. So I really am so happy and proud and honored, really, to have been working with Luke through this transitional period of bringing Zephyr into its third decade. It can drink now. Luke is an exceptionally talented student as well in my classrooms, as well as in working with the club outside of class. And I do want to mention that he is not just a political science major, although he's very good at that and going to be world's best lawyer someday because of it. He's also got dual minors in business and English. So multi-talented person, as are most of the folks, if not all of you, and in many wonderful ways who will be talking with us tonight. So with that said, I will turn it over to Luke now to tell you more about Zephyr.
Well, thank you, Professor McHugh, for that awesome introduction. And thank you also to Professor Miller and BEANIE as well, everyone who was able to help us put this awesome event together. It's great to see so many people here, and you know, all thank you for coming. As mentioned, I am the editor-in-chief of Zephyr, UNE's Artistic Journal of Expression. This is our newest issue here, which has been a blast to create. We actually have a few from the past few years on display over there, and copies free to take if you would like. It's been an absolute privilege to be able to give the students of UNE an outlet to express all kinds of great artistic and creativeness. I think that Professor Miller has already given most of the introduction that BEANIE needs. So to start us off, our first reader I'd like to bring to the stage is BEANIE.
Absolutely. So my first poem tonight is called Bring Only Wine. Don't come to us without bringing music, Rumi once said. Don't come to us without bringing joy. Leave your sorrows at the door, friend, and let the music baptize you once more. Don't come to us with sour intentions. Don't come to us with saddened eyes, teary and unfocused. Have your sorrow, have your grief, be human. But when you come, be it in celebration of living still. My second poem tonight is called Not a Woman. She once said to me, "Well, you still have the body of a woman." Do not erase who I have told you I am. How you perceive my body is your own assumption. I am queer, and therefore my body is queer. My third poem tonight is going to be Never Forgotten. I will not forget you, my love, not after decades, not after centuries, not after millennia. When I feel the light sprinkle of rain, I will not forget. When the sky fades from light blue to sweet pink to deep midnight ink, I will not forget. When I walk across the cracked pavement from thrifts to antiques, I will not forget. I will not forget you, etched into me as the lines on my palms and the furrow in my brow. I carry you with me, in my shoulders, in my feet, in my breast. You are wound into me. I will not forget you as the tea cools, is drunk, and is forgotten. I will not forget you as seasons change, as the sun and moon spiral away and forget. I will not forget you as the planets move and groan with the weight of worlds and the universe forgets. I will not forget you. Even after death, my atoms cling to yours, and I will not forget. My fourth poem tonight is Poetry for Coming Home. There's a poem in the way you walk around the museum gallery, and the way your sea-soaked jeans cling to your legs. There's a poem in the way I notice these things long after I should have stopped. And there's a poem in how you look at me in the moonlight, and how I will never be the same again. My fifth and final poem tonight is Queer to the Bone. Queer is not a dirty word. It is when a woman bakes a small cake for her wife's birthday and they enjoy it together. It is when a man brings home the plant his boyfriend was eyeing as they pass through the rows of the nursery. Queer is when I, inherently queer to the bone, exist in the world. Queer is when you kiss my forehead and I pay for your drink at the drive-thru. Queer is not a dirty word, and we are not dirty people. Thank you.
I'm your second reader for tonight. I will be reading from my own work in the past 21st issue of the Zephyr. This piece is entitled The Masked Champion. I don't remember when it all started. To be quite honest, I don't even remember why it started, and I'm not sure it truly matters. All I am fully aware of is that we were in the thick of a full-scale nationwide protest that reached the largest cities and the most backwater, off-the-path rural settlements. To classify the movement as entirely peaceful would be a gross misrepresentation. Things were broken. People were hurt. There is no avoiding that fact. All of that withstanding, the fundamentals of the protests remained rather intact, if not the slightest bit tainted. However, as the number of days dragged on and jobs, friends, and families were repeatedly put on hold, the fire behind the movement slowly but surely began to dwindle. With the driving force beginning to dissipate and countless members leaving by the day, fissures erupted from different regions and fractioned the protests, leaving it leaderless and by result, directionless. Out of this chaos, and in the proverbial nick of time, saving the entire movement from collapse, there arose a champion. This biblical hero was a faceless entity, in both literal and figurative sense. When I first gazed upon those black, soulless eyes, and the mechanical half-smile, half-frown that made up the facial expression of that mask, I had no earthly clue what to make of it. Whether he was an angelic figure, or an inspired man of the people, or even a CIA spy, he quickly won the favor of the masses and took over the reins of the movement. The blank canvas of this savior allowed for various angry people to project their emotions onto this figure. He was nobody, which meant he became everything to everyone. Protesters thought of the masked man as a champion fighting for racial equality, for gender equality, for economic equality, and for any such cause one could feasibly battle for. For me, well, it doesn't matter what he meant to me. What matters is what he meant for the movement. We have talked long enough, an unwavering voice would announce from behind the mask. The time for talking is past. What we need now is action. Rise to the call, my brothers and sisters. Tear down the oppressors. Act against this injustice. Bring in the new world. In the back of my mind was always the fear that some foolish and misguided soul would don a fabricated face covering and tarnish his reputation. But as events unfolded and no such situation came to pass, I came to a realization. He was a ghost, a messiah, a legend. He was, in a word, untouchable. As the days, weeks, and months passed by, the previous blunt instrument of the movement had been transformed into a precise and pinpoint scalpel. Our champion moved from state to state, from city to city, rallying support, informing, inspiring, and directing the masses, burning it all to the ground, and then moving on to repeat the process again. Wherever he went, I followed, along with several other self-proclaimed acolytes. I was always wary of the level of devotion of some of these men and women, but they seemingly all turned out to be loyal servants. Each of them were furthermore just as destroyed after taking the capital. After cutting a swath through the country, the movement ended up on the door of the nation's capital, and after several violent and bloody days, our masked champions stood victorious outside the infamous building. With the crowd, the country, and the world waiting and listening for the next step, their masked hero did the unthinkable. I've watched this country rise up and take action against oppression. The microphone rang out. It has been a pleasure acting as your leader, but I am afraid I must leave you now. My mission is finished. My end goal has been accomplished. I have taken you as far as I can. It is up to you to go the rest of the way. I tore down the establishment. I gave you a blank slate. I leave you now with the highest expectations of what you will build. This is an opportunity. Don't pick it up. And with that, as quickly as he had appeared, he was gone. We were left with the memory of a mask and a new world. I wish I could thank this person, wherever he is, but for some reason, I think he already knows. Now I'm going to turn it back to Beanie to introduce our next reader.
Our next reader for the night is going to be Natalie. She is a marine bio major and a math and English double minor, and she's a member of the Creative Writing Club, reading some of her original poetry.
Thank you. Tonight I'm going to be reading 4 poems, only the first of which is named. My first poem tonight is called The Tale of the Monochrome Sky. Everything was fine and everything was good. Everything happened just as it should. The birds would sing and the cats would roar and the wild beasts would roam the moor. 'Twas a normal day and an albatross carefully watched his chick splashing recklessly. Listen, Chick, and listen well. I have a lesson for you today. He took a deep breath in and sung the lonely tale of the monochrome sky. The world is wide, but the earth's not flat. The silly 2 feet still argue about that. They can't read the crests of the tide, or the splash of the sea, or lift to the air to glide. Stuck on the ground, staring out to sea, the deep blue reflecting the tone of the monochrome sky. Birds fly high and birds fly fast. Birds can soar in a sky so vast. But wings tire and muscles get sore. So landward bound we come and rest the wings that soar. The sky is great and flying is profound, but the air's not home. We have to return to the ground. The sky stares to the sea and the sea stares back, always reflecting but never meeting the face of the monochrome sky. Now, Chick, you know the feel of a father's love, of care as tender as the wing of a dove. But the sky hangs high, too far to reach, so it sits while we crone, the lonely tale of the monochrome sky. The chick raised her head, and the albatross did too. They looked to the west to see the sun go. The sight was gorgeous, and for once they saw the colors of the sunset, orange and raw. And so the birds, they know, once they land for the day, the lonely tune changes, the song of the heterochrome sky. And my second poem is as follows. Life flows by, time ticks on. How do we measure time? Is it mechanically, in seconds, minutes, or hours? Is it in discrete units of uniform time, unfazed by irregularities? Or is it emotionally, in lingers and in moments? Is it stretched in disproportionate units, flowing from one to the next? Does it drag by, like flow of molasses being poured from a bottle? Or does it fly past, like when you step on ice wrong and you can't even think before you're on your back? I think it's somewhere in the middle, measured in lingers by the ticking of a clock, measured in moments by the setting of a sun. Because time may stretch as you watch the clock, waiting for the boring class to end, and time may fly when you forget the marching seconds while dancing the night away. And it all evens out in the end. The lingers and the moments fit into the tight framework we call time. And time is ruthless. My third poem tonight is as follows. Invisible, sitting in the corner of the room, in the presence of many, but utterly alone. Invisible, present but unnoticed, silent but observing, sitting still amongst a tide of people. Invisible, though not by choice, there are so many thoughts, so many words, but no one stops to talk. Invisible, sounds of a lively party thrumming through the air, pulsing in ears, making it impossible to hear. Even thoughts are lost to the pulsing. Invisible, in the dim light of the rave, pulsing strobes and flashing lights don't even illuminate the solitary corner. Invisible, sitting curled on the floor against the wall, thoughts fighting against the deafening sound. Miserable, that introvert in the corner. And my last poem. From the moment we breathe our first, a glass bottle is placed in our throats. A bottle for emotions to be stored when we don't have the time to deal with them. Ever wonder why babies cry so much? The bottle is new. A brand new, perfectly shaped jar has been harshly shoved into their throats. As we grow, our bottles change. Some people's bottles grow with them. Some stay the same size. Some become thin and frail. Some become thick and strong. These bottles store our extra emotions from when we can't deal with them. Times for professionalism call for their use. So do times of comforting others. But these bottles aren't limitless. They have a capacity for the emotions they can hold. Only so much emotion can fit into our glass bottles, but it's easy to forget. These bottles aren't limitless. Some of us regularly share our burdens and let go of them, let the bottles open up and empty. Others keep them closed to everyone else and empty them in the comfort of their own solitude. But others seal their bottles. They are sealed from everyone, even themselves. The little glass bottle is forgotten. Extra emotions simply flow into the closed bottle, stuffing it full. They abuse the bottle and shove everything in, but keep the lid sealed tight. These people are the ones who forget. The little bottle can only take so much before it just can't. It can't because it isn't limitless. It breaks. No, that word is wrong. That word doesn't cover it. It shatters. It shatters without a care. It explodes, flinging its contents out every possible exit, leaving the broken shards of glass sitting in the throat and leaving me sobbing on the floor. Because I fit into the last group, the one that forgets about the little bottle, the one that abuses the bottle till it can't take it anymore, the one that takes advantage of its use, delaying the impact of emotions. The problem is, the longer the emotions sit in that bottle, the stronger they are.
Our next reader is Stephanie Ruff. She will be graduating upcoming 2022. She is an animal behavior major as well as a writing and anthropology minor. She has been on the Zephyr editorial board for several years now, even before me actually, and she's been instrumental to every single issue put out in the last few years. She will be reading from her own work published in the Zephyr 21st issue. Please come to the podium.
So my piece is called The Beast. There is something hollow inside me, a space surrounded by jagged teeth. My eyes are black holes, unseeing and cavernous, revealing nothing but bone. My face, although two-dimensional, has all but shriveled. I have no nose, no lips, and strips upon strips of rotting skin. Each horrible thing I do to keep myself glowing, alive, flaming bright, adds to the decay, forcing me to hide. My antlers stretch out of my head, one extending out from either side, twisting and growing and wrapping themselves around anything alive. Each antler gains new heights as I scheme and deceive and lie. I am trying to help you. Don't worry, everything is fine. It has been so long I cannot bear to see the light, to see every mistake and pale face, all the people who I have led to die. This small face below my chin came from a very young boy, so full of joy and hope, he was the first to go. This other one right next to it came from an aunt, or was it an uncle? A cousin, a grandfather, a grandmother, a dear family friend. All their faces stare back at me, their souls reflected in the parts not yet decayed into bone. But there is something filling this space, new faces I don't recognize, a bird, an elephant, and a boy in a pointy hat. The bird seems to be a guide, searching for a fix to a mistake. From human to bluebird, living betrayal in her wake. She is resting on a branch that I seem to have extended. Then there is the boy in the pointy hat, a cape flowing behind him as though it will bring his courage back. He does not seem to know where he is or where he is going, and I guess neither do I, but he follows the little bird, which I guess is as good as any place to start. Then comes the elephant, who is not really an elephant. It is simply a young boy with an upside-down teapot on his head. His hand is raised in a gesture, a wave hello or goodbye. So young and chipper with his song about potatoes and molasses, a wayward younger brother, so like mine. They trapeze and they wander and follow an unworn path. Each footstep they take pulls up fresh grass. My decaying body is now growing into branches, with twigs and tree trunks obscuring the dead faces. The guiding bird has pulled a trick to try and counteract her fate, but returns as a savior. Maybe she can save me. The boy in the pointed hat with the long and flowing cape is finally starting to take responsibility, learning that his weird traits are actually quite endearing, absolutely nothing like me. And then there is the boy with the teapot on his head. He found himself isolated and alone, trying to achieve the impossible all on his own. I asked him to catch the sun in a little porcelain cup. He placed it on his tree stump and waited for the sun to descend, refusing to give up. I wonder if they will come for him before he freezes to death, if the bird and the brother will set him free and fight for him. They find him bound among my trees, the now black branches wrapping tight, another person to add to my collection of the dying. The grass they grew has shriveled, the branches jagged and dead. I kill everything I touch. The bird begins to push me back. The pointy-hatted boy takes control with a swinging axe, realizing what I lack. They have traveled over the garden wall and survived the horrors and the unknown, thinking that I was chasing them all those days and nights, not knowing that the beast only follows, observing the people left alive. That hollow place inside of me, now filled with these figures three, have discovered the secret of my lantern, that the flame burning inside is me.
And I'm proud to introduce our next reader for the night, Lizzie Garcia, who's graduating 2024 and is on the pre-med track.
I have five poems tonight. The first one is called In the Wind. A breeze cools my face, dries my tears. It pierces through my clothes, runs across my skin, but it does not bite. It fills my ears with a rushing sound I don't notice until it's gone. And the second poem is called A Nice Day. It's a nice day, you say. The sun is shining, it's near 60. Spring is coming. I crack open the car windows on the drive home. The music and the breeze lift my soul. The winter is ending, the sky is blue. It feels like the world is stretching out its stiffness and breathing a deep breath. The plants will come back to life soon, and I will too. So I also say, yes, it's nice out today. My third poem is called Early Morning Cat. A cat sits on a porch in the morning light as birds fly across the yard. Could it be a statue so awkwardly placed in front of the door? No, it moves, watching me, seemingly, as the bus pulls away and we both continue on. My fourth poem is called The Final Chapter. Caught in the pull of an icy moon, our time draws near, the end is soon. Trapped, alone, without hope, brothers turned against us. And I know there is no way that we can possibly save them. Falling down through the sky, our starship burning to embers, I hear the cries from the stars of peacekeepers and good soldiers, and the tears of my friend as we bury our brothers. And my last poem is untitled, but it concerns writing. I want to write a story, something truly me, but when I set out for it, I encounter problems 3. My first is where to go and who to show. The world is vast. Greater yet are the realms where impossible things amass. There are many beings within me trying to come out. There is the scholar with always more to learn, the fighter, one who's pure and strong, the lover who will bring light into the dark. The dreamer dreams them all and more, and wants to leave her mark. Number 2 is what to say and what to do. So much that is important, I can't describe it all. But so many things speak to my soul, whether they be great or small. I'm not quite sure I understand them, yet I try to make them come out right. But saying what I mean seems to be a task that is quite beyond me. Problem 3, the hardest one, is writing something till it's done. I could live in the worlds I write, I think of them day and night. But forging forward, writing through it, I just can't seem to do it. I don't know why, but I'll continue to try, and I know I'll get there one day.
Our next reader is Riley. She will be graduating in 2023. She's a double major in elementary and middle education, as well as an English and writing minor. She will be reading work from the 21st issue of the Zephyr.
The first piece I'll be reading today is my poem titled You Live Rent-Free in My Head. In all honesty, I dreamt about you, about us. We were happy, like old times, laughing with one another. I didn't want anyone to know that I still think about you, but the only time I see you is in my dreams, trying to hold on, never letting go of what we shared. I will forever hold on to the memory of you, where we lived, happily ever after with one another and no one else, but only in my dreams. The second piece I'll be reading for you tonight is my short story titled The Girl Who Wore Red Bandanas. From first grade up until freshman year of high school, I wore a bandana on my wrist. My parents and I didn't really know why, but my left wrist sweat profusely when it was hot out or if I was stressed. Everyone knew me as the girl who wore bandanas. I had over 30 of them, with all different patterns and colors. Some were just solid colors with the normal bandana design, which is the paisley print, but others have smiley faces, soccer balls, some were tie-dyed, while others were themed for holidays. My favorite thing to do was match them to my outfit every day. The soft touch of them on my wrist before they got soaked by my sweat always captivated me. How my wrist could sweat so much that it would drench a bandana in minutes. I still wear them, but only when I'm sleeping. Up until I stopped wearing them every day, my parents would tie them for me. We had a system. At first, I only asked my dad because I liked the way he did it. But as I got older, I tended to ask my mom more for help. They both took the bandana and wrapped it around my wrist a couple of times until there was just enough fabric left to knot it. But over the years, my dad became sloppy with it, and the knot tended to untie quicker than if I had my mom do it. In middle school, all of the kids thought I wore a bandana on my wrist because I was trying to hide self-harm. When their suspicions started happening, it made me self-conscious. It felt like everyone was looking at me and talking behind my back. So I tried not to wear them anymore. But whenever I didn't have one on my wrist, I also felt self-conscious. Anytime I had a bandana on, I felt like I was unstoppable. At times, a bandana acted as a shield for me. This small piece of cloth protected me from the world. After I got into high school, I decided it was time to say goodbye to bandanas. The summer going into my sophomore year, I started to not wear them as much. I still remember the first time I didn't wear one all day. At first, I was kind of sad that I didn't wear one anymore. I felt naked. I felt like I had lost my identity as being the girl who wore bandanas. But over time, I felt so accomplished with myself that I had actually gone multiple days in a row without wearing one. Nowadays, my wrist will sweat here and there, but not as much as before. I definitely notice it more in the summer than the winter. It makes me wonder if I'm less stressed compared to when I was a kid, but I doubt that's true. Looking back on my childhood, I think about bandanas because they were my protector. They were always there for me. When my wrist would sweat, when I twisted my ankle and had to use one as a wrap, or when I just needed to cry. And I believe that even though I don't wear them every day, they still have my back through the good and the bad. Thank you.
Alrighty, and our last reader of the night, Henry Sylvester, is also graduating 2023. He's a psychology major, one of the members of the Creative Writing Club, and is going to be reading some original poetry.
I'll be reading 3 pieces tonight. Only the first one is titled The Condition, an interconnectedness in which we are embodied in an allegory, within something we all knew. As the boulder leans on their shoulder, we stand ingrained upon the hill. A momentary lapse in confusion, in the entropy between oneself, a wholeness discovered, disdained, elapsed. The dimensionality of perception, embedded in the consciousness of empathy, love, and reason. Experience forgotten, dwelling in the abstract, as we roll back down again. And this is my second poem. Hope did not mean much until I met you. Connection never concerned me before we knew each other. Life was left misunderstood long before I knew you, but you changed that in me. Ignoring what was around me left me lost, so lost. I just want you to realize that it was from you, because of you, I've begun to see a part of me that I thought I had lost years ago. You've made me realize there's still a reason. And this is my final poem. I've been told that scar tissue grows back stronger. I've realized the strength, and it might be true, but it also comes back twice as numb. Resilience is not found from insensitivity to pain. It is discovering the process of feeling again. It is about prevailing the weakness and hatred and preventing them from sharpening your insecurities. It is discovering that nothing is something, and that every act that has made you less was really something that has made you more. It is recognizing that originality is arbitrary, and realizing that the real content of your character is found within the contrast of your experiences. Resilience is embodying the act of living as an act of rebellion. Thank you.
So as previously mentioned, that is the last reader we have for tonight. I'm sure on our pamphlet you'll see that we have one more, Andrea at the bottom. She unfortunately could not be here to read in person today, but if you see the QR code on the pamphlet, she has recorded her work. I suppose I'll read her bio. She is graduating in 2024, 2025, and she is in the Creative Writing Club. She was going to read work by Linda Paul Lab, a faculty member of UNE and a longtime contributor of Zephyr. Again, if you would like to see her reading, please just scan the QR code and it should come right up. As for that concludes the reading portion of this event. I would like to offer some time to say thank you to all of our readers if we could. Thank you. Before we move into some questions, I did want to say that, as mentioned many times tonight, I am the editor-in-chief of the Zephyr. We are open currently and always looking for submissions. Professor McHugh ran through the list, but anything that you have, poetry, short stories, photography, illustrations, paintings, we'd love to have anything that you would like to be shown to the UNE community. On the pamphlet here is a bunch of links and information, emails. If you have any questions at all, please just reach out. We're also looking for members of Zephyr for the editorial board, in which we review submissions as they come in each year, have a hand in designing the issue, promoting it, distributing it when it comes out. We've created a new social media, Instagram. Certainly have a hand in working with that. And again, do you want to say something about creative writing? All right.
Yeah, as always, Creative Writing Club is always looking for new members, people who just want to write and share their writing with other people. Anybody is more than welcome. We accept all kinds of creative writing, though in meetings we do prefer like a 2-page maximum for efficiency. Which may have come about for a few reasons, but we are always looking for new members. We're always looking for new people to come in and share with us. It's always awesome to have new people and new work. We don't have any kind of submission or anything, so just come, join us. My email is on there. Our Instagram is on there. Absolutely reach out and see when our meeting times are if you guys are interested. So at this point, I think we can turn it over to the Q&A. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask anybody who read, either of the professors, just anything at all.
Is it working now? All right. Yeah, anything relating to Creative Writing Club, to Zephyr, to the processes of all the work of all these awesome writing pieces. And I see some people are heading out. I know this is already done. Please grab the commemorative bookmarks on the table if you're heading out that we have, as well as the pens from the English department. There are plenty of copies of the Zephyr from the past 3 years. Feel free to grab one of those as well. But again, as we're asking, does anyone have a question?
Can I give comments?
Absolutely. You want the mic?
No. Okay. Y'all were so good. I had chills. Like within every single one of you were so unique. It had a different message. I'm sure everyone can interpret everything you said in such a different way. But honestly, it was so great. This was my first time coming to an event like this. I was a senior, and I wish I knew about this sooner. I was like having chills up and down my spine the whole time. It was great.
We appreciate that very much. Compliments is fine too. We want to keep doing that. Yeah, this is, you mentioned the first year. This is the first year this has ever been done. We hope to continue it. So, please keep it in mind next year and keep your eyes out.
I just want to say that as a person who's in the sciences, it's so nice to see the both creative and science side of many of you, and that unfortunately poetry readings and writing tend to get cast only to the English majors, and it's such an amazing expression of yourselves. So it was really exciting for me to see that cross-section. And I'm Beanie's mom, that's why she's forcing me to have the microphone. But you guys were amazing, and it was really a pleasure to hear all of your work, and I hope you all keep it up.
Yeah, I do think that this is very important. As most of you probably know already, being here, University of New England is not predominantly an English-based school, so it is really awesome for us to be able to offer some kind of outlet for all of this artistic expression.
don't think I need the mic. That's okay. Okay, I think.
He's pretty loud.
So I have a question for Henry, if you don't mind, and you just take past life. So I'd really love to hear sort of what the backstory is on your third poem tonight.
On the third poem?
On the third poem, on resilience.
It was, I wrote that this summer, and it was just something I needed to hear from myself. I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll use the mic. I think it's for recording purposes, right?
Right.
I think, does that work? There it is. So I'm really interested in process. I'm interested in Zephyr. So like at one point there is not a 21st issue, and then there is, right? So like how does that happen? You know, I'm fascinated with process. Not, you know, obviously writing process is maybe the only thing I think about, but when I'm not thinking about writing, I'm thinking about like publication and production and collaboration and deadlines and you know, all of the millions of decisions and choices that go into producing something, right? It's a magic trick when there is nothing and then there's this thing you can hold in your hand, which is beautiful. So, you know, Luke and I know Stephanie really deeply involved in this. Can you talk about how this came to be, how it comes to be, and you know, some of the processes stuff on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it is a total blast. I'll go first. There's a few members of the Zephyr team here, but as you said, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. Starting off with just reaching out to as many students as we can that are interested, have the work and everything to be able to give it to us. As I've mentioned, there might not be as many English. Isn't that working right? Oh, okay. Students within the university, so it is definitely important to make sure that we find them wherever they are, which can definitely be somewhat of a challenge. We've been trying to do more on that front. The social media, Instagram, I think is a great way to reach out. This event is awesome. I hope that some of you will come away with this and definitely submit some work as we come along. As far as I can speak on, the printing process is definitely interesting. Going through the whole business side of it, I drove an hour over to Lewiston, Maine for our printing. I do that every year. Great people over there, and they are super understandable. I've gone through a lot of different things, but when you think about it, the color, how it's printed, the type of paper, the thickness of paper, fonts, colors, everything like that can definitely be a lot. But again, just taking it step by step and talking them through it, asking a lot of questions for the most part. And maybe I can turn it over to Stephanie to talk about some of the reviewing going on.
Okay. I know I'm kind of quiet. So, Dr. Mill is a little bit of a hypocrite because he's the one that dragged me into this. He told me that he had a really cool opportunity for me to do some extra writing and that there would be donuts, and I ended up at a Zephyr meeting on a Saturday doing review for I think it was the 20th edition, and I've been here ever since. I will say I do love that we've been diversifying not only our content, but also color, font, size of the book, all that fun stuff. For me, at least, I do a little bit more in the reviewing process and a little bit more in the aesthetic of the book. I was the one that really pushed Luke about doing color, especially with how many photographs and artistic pieces that we get. Color was a great option for us. Yeah, I mean, it's great. We don't have donuts at the moment, but if you still want to come to a meeting, we would recommend. Submissions are open, which means we'll be doing review probably next semester. So if you want to just kind of hold off until then, you are welcome to, but we're also always around. You want to say, no, you're good?
Eve, did you want to jump in?
Um,
Just one thing to say as the advisor, it's not just open for students to submit, but staff, faculty, and immediate members of all of the above, and alumni. So twist arms, bring people in. You know the people in your life who are devoted to creative stuff. We all know how hard that stuff is to share, but we all, I hope, through the Zephyr experience at least, get a sense of how empowering and how positive and how just really juicy it is to see your name in print and to know that your work is out there, inspiring other people, doing the things that only art can do, only art and creative writing. So, thank you.
yeah, just to put that out there, our submission deadline is the start of the spring semester, so there's still definitely a lot of time to get your work in. It's funny how I got into Zephyr. I was looking for that very thing. Just I had a lot of work that I was interested in getting out there and getting it where someone could be able to read it. I talked to Professor Cripps, who I had English in freshman year, and he said there's a great place that you might be able to get some work published and maybe even participate in the process a little bit. And I stepped in the door, and they said, do you want to just run the thing then? So I jumped in, and it's been great ever since. We do have our designer in the audience. Nick, would you like to say a little bit about the designing of it? Here, I can run this mic over to you.
Does it work? All right. Hi, my name is Nick White. I'm the lead designer of the 21st edition of Zephyr. I'm a sophomore, and I started working on it last year, my freshman year. And basically the way I got into Zephyr was I was just browsing the Get Involved page, and I saw the club at the very bottom of the entire list, listed alphabetically. So I thought I'd join, and turns out I liked it. So, and then towards the beginning of the second semester, Luke needed someone to actually do the graphic design aspect of the magazine. So I volunteered myself, and I found up just being the lead designer of it. I'm very proud of how it turned out, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I'm thought it was a great experience. So essentially for the design aspect of it, it's made in Adobe InDesign. It's a computer program. You throw your pictures, your text onto a number of different spreads for the pages. You adjust the boxes, put little borders around all the text, whatever you want to do. Go through maybe 20 different iterations throughout the entire process. Send it over to Luke. He gives you criticisms for what you did wrong. Very kindly worded criticisms. I very much appreciated that. So I think it turns out really nice, and I'm very proud of, again, all the work we do as a club. I encourage anyone who's interested in becoming part of the editorial or design process to get in touch with me or Luke or anyone else on the Zephyr team. And I'm looking forward to continuing throughout my next time here at UNE. So, thank you.
Oh, sorry. You want to give him the mic? Pass the mic.
Hi, so three things. First of all, thank you so much. It's just so inspiring. I think this is the first time this has happened since I've been here, which, anyhow, it's been a while, but it's gone by quickly. And I want to acknowledge Professor MCHUGH, who I believe has been the faculty advisor for 20 years, which is wonderful. And the last thing I would suggest or ask you to consider would be, I learned recently that student government has an $800,000 budget. I hope that's not being recorded. And I would, it would be so wonderful if, in addition to nurturing a community that supports, writing and the visual arts and maybe even the performing arts, if you could connect the university with that big world of creative and fine arts, which is to say, to put it specifically, for example, we have National Poetry Month coming up. And I think it would be a lot more interesting to some of those poets out there if the invitation came from you than it is from me, or from anybody else, I would say. So you have an opportunity to lead not only here the way you are by sharing your voices, but by also connecting us with the big world, the extraordinarily inspiring world of creative writing and visual art. So thank you.
Luke, this question is, well, first, Riley's in my science class. That's why there was obnoxious cheering from the back from our friends, but you did a good job. Luke, this question is for you. I've now read your short piece 4 times, and I love that it's so opaque, and I can't figure out who you're writing about. Because you had me going one way, and then I went a different way, and then, phew, phew. What I can imagine what your motivation was, but you want to share who's the Messiah?
It is not a specific person. Yeah, which is okay. But I appreciate all the, time and effort you've spent figuring it out. It is, to answer your question, it's just really, as I'm sure everyone has seen throughout some of the protests that have been happening recently, there's just a lot of things running through my head, running back to famous past protesters as well. Really just an amalgamation of all the thoughts going through my head, and I figured I'd put it on paper. There's also another one in there to the same degree in that first section about contemporary times that I wrote about the pandemic. I know people want to hear much more about that always. But that's been great. That was actually just to give a shout out. I wrote that in a creative writing class that I took here at the University of New England. So talking about all this, that how English is a minority in the university, there still are some great outlets and classes and activities offered that I encourage everyone and anyone, if you're here and probably interested, to take advantage of.
Anyone else got questions?
Comments or questions, anything?
This is not like class, there's no judgment. How exciting.
That's all right, we'll make it work.
Oh, okay. If no one has any comments or questions, I do want to give a shout out to Professor Brian Broad, who's chilling in the middle of the audience here. My piece actually came from his class in creative nonfiction, which I know the university is struggling a little bit with doing it again. So if you want to give him your support, I highly recommend it. Dr. Miller teaches a bunch of the writing classes here that a bunch of my other pieces have come from as well. So do know that creativity can be found pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if there are no more questions, comments about anything, then we'd just like to extend a big thank you to everybody who came out and to everybody who showed your support. It's wonderful to see how many people are invested in the creative arts at UNE, and not just writing, but in the arts in general. And I hope that this continues to be a space where we foster that. So thank you guys very much for coming out. We appreciate it.
And real quick before you, it will be recorded and everything, so if there's anyone that wasn't able to hear to make it, I know there's a live stream too. It'll be out there in the next coming days to be able to circulate around. Again, please take bookmarks, pens, issues, whatever you can, and just to double down on that. Thank you for everyone for coming.